citric acid cycle, emphasizing energy yield and amphibolic use of intermediates, and add a note on energetics. Let us go to this answer first. This Sunday, what exam are you writing, beta? Let me decide. Ritika, Imad, Emma. Didn't decide. November 1st onwards, college may start, no? I have sent yesterday one circular, not from our state, but okay. Metabolism of carbohydrates to 44. So, what is citric acid cycle? See, basically for the breakdown of glucose into energy, the glucose first enters into the cycle of glycolysis, isn't it? So in the cycle of glycolysis, you see glucose is undergoing series of steps like glucose 6-phosphate fructose. Finally, you will see under aerobic conditions, you will see the formation of pyruvate. Under anaerobic conditions, you will see the formation of lactate. Now, what is happening is, now we have to talk about energetics also. So pyruvate is the last product now which becomes the first product where the citric acid cycle begins with this pyruvate. See, that means half breakdown of glucose has taken place in the glycolysis cycle, and further breakdown for the production of energy ATP is being carried out in another cycle, that is pyruvate, citric acid cycle. What are the other names we have? All the names you should remember because anything can come. Citric acid cycle, Krebs cycle.
Tricarboxylic acid cycle,
Yeah, very good, beta.
Krebs cycle.
Yeah, yeah. So any of these names can come. Now see here, beta. So pyruvate is now converted to acetyl-CoA in the presence of pyruvate dehydrogenase. So here you are finding the oxidoreduction reaction is taking place. That is biological oxidation. NAD is converted to NADH plus H plus. Okay. And like that, you will see the series of steps are from acetyl-CoA, you will see the formation of citrate in the presence of citrate synthase, then aconitase, cis-aconitase, isocitrate, oxalosuccinate, alpha ketoglutarate, succinyl-CoA, succinate, fumarate, then malate, finally oxaloacetate. So these are the series of steps, okay, so which are taking place here in the citric acid cycle. Now, here our question is not confined just to citric acid cycle, but we are also asked like what are the energetics, for which you should learn this table better. This one. See, basically you should remember like one NADP, it gives rise to 3 ATPs, and one FED, it gives rise to 2 ATPs. Okay. So that basic now, in the recent books, the energy which is produced from NAD FED is slightly changed. Maybe it is 2.5. Okay, like that you just check. I will just give you the calculations. Accordingly, you can slightly change the readings. Okay. So first of all, we are now checking with the cycle of glycolysis. Even if it is citric acid cycle is asked, you should see like glucose is now being broken down to glucose 6-phosphate. Here you will see ATP is utilized. Okay. Wherever NAD, NADP are involved, now you have to check better. Wherever NAD, NADH is there, you have to give 3 ATPs there. Okay, and this is substrate level phosphorylation. A question can come like substrate level phosphorylation also. That means during the cycle, like when a cycle is going on, during that cycle, if ATP is produced, then you call it a substrate level phosphorylation. So actually, this glucose is 6-carbon compound. Like through series of steps, it is converted to fructose 1,6 by bisphosphate, which is also 6-carbon compound. In the presence of aldolase, it is now broken down to 3-carbon and 3-carbon. That means substrate level phosphorylation. Here you will have 2 ATPs at phosphoglycerate kinase. One more is at pyruvate kinase also you will have generation of 2 ATPs. That basic thing you should remember. Okay, so in the glycolysis, see during this step, these are all dehyde 3-phosphate dehydrogenase, 2 NADHs are involved. So 2 NADP in the sense 1 NADP gives rise to 3 ATPs I said. So 2 NADs, that means 3 plus 3, 6. Okay, just now I gave substrate level phosphorylation. That is the formation of ATP during the metabolic intermediates of any cycle. Okay, so you have like three carbon compound, no? So there you have one ATP, but two like three carbon, it goes twice. That's why you have two ATPs here. So similarly, like at pyruvate kinase also we have two ATPs, but initially two ATPs were consumed, okay, because of which you just give minus 2. So if you just do grand total 6 plus 2 plus 2 is 10, 10 minus 2 is 8. So that is net ATP synthesis in glycolysis in aerobic condition. But see in the new book, NAD values are slightly different. Instead of 6, I think if you have right now new book with you, I remember it is 2.5, 2.5, it is 5. Check with the new book please. Okay. Now coming to the like energy production of citric acid cycle. See again, isocitrate dehydrogenase. I'll show you one step so that you will understand. See here, where is this one. So this isocitrate dehydrogenase, you are finding NAD is converted to NADPH. And we know isocitrate is 3 carbon compound. From glycolysis, we have actually 3 carbon is split. That means isocitrates, we will have 2 in number. That's the reason it has to be 2 NAD and 2 NADPH. That means at this step, you have the generation of 6 ATPs. Is that clear, Imad, Hema, Ritika? How we are converting this? Yes, beta? Are you understanding?
Yes, ma'am.
Huh. So isocitrate dehydrogenase, two NADHs are involved because two isocitrate like molecules will be there. So you have 6 ATPs. Where alpha ketoglutarate, where it is involved, there also we will see NAD is there. That's why we have how many? Again 6 ATPs. Succinate thiokinase, this is substrate level phosphorylation. That means at the level of substrate, GTP is nothing but ATP only beta. At succinate thiokinase, actually you will see the formation of GTP. GTP is nothing but ATP only. That's the reason you can give substrate thiokinase like 2 ATPs. Okay. Then succinate dehydrogenase, it involves FAD. And I told you one FAD gives rise to 2 ATPs. 2 FADs will give rise to 4. Malate dehydrogenase, there we have an NAD. 2 malate dehydrogenases, that means 2 times, twice. That's why 2 NADHs. That's the reason we have 6. So if you make a grand total of this, overall total ATP per 1 mole of glucose under aerobic condition, it comes to 38. Okay, total ATP per mole of glucose under anaerobic condition, it is only 2. Okay, you have to like memorize this table by just making applying the concepts. Always remember from 1 NAD how many ATPs are generated, from 1 FAD how many ATPs are generated. Okay, so that is about citric acid cycle, and he is asking something else also beta in this. See here, yeah, citric acid cycle emphasizing energy yield and amphibolic use of intermediates. Okay, and energetics we have done. We will see this amphibolic use of intermediates. These are all steps which you have to convert in your own words, beta. Okay. Nucleosis. Yeah, beta. This is. So this small paragraph we are supposed to write. See, citric acid cycle is actually providing various intermediates for the synthesis of many compounds needed by the body. That means this citric acid or Krebs cycle is both catabolic and anabolic in nature. Hence, it is called as amphibolic. That means, see, whatever intermediate products are there of the citric acid cycle, they will go into gluconeogenesis, they will go into some other cycles. Okay. So that means it is anabolic. It is also giving us energy by breaking down completely. So that is catabolic. That means it is both catabolic and anabolic in nature. Hence you call it as amphibolic. Okay. So if you talk about anabolic, it is involved in gluconeogenesis, transamination, deamination, most important synthetic anabolic reactions which are connected to TCA cycle. They are given in 13.10 figure we will see. Okay. So that is the meaning, but it's both involved in anabolic and catabolic reactions. Anabolic is something to make, catabolic is something to break. So it is building up and also breaking at the same time. So that's why you are calling it as amphibolic. You'll see this 13.10. Yes, beta, this one. See here, you have to write this beta, anaplerotic pathways of the intermediates of citric acid cycle. So suppose if oxaloacetate is, we'll go with citrate first in order. So citrate can be converted to fatty acids and sterol. So that means it is an anabolic reaction, isn't it? Alpha ketoglutarate can be converted to glutamate, non-essential amino acids, purines. Succinyl-CoA can be converted to heme. Malate can be converted to pyruvate, pyruvate can be converted to malate. Similarly, pyruvate to oxaloacetate, oxaloacetate to pyruvate. Then this transamination, oxaloacetate, this is again a reversible reaction. So like this, it is involved in many anabolic and complete breakdown to give energy is catabolic reactions. Okay. So that's how you just read these 3 points also. This will help you to write about amphibolic nature of citric acid cycle. Okay. I hope first answer is clear. Yes, beta. Man.
Yes, ma'am.
Then we will go with this is anyhow repeated question. Ketogenesis pathway and explain its significance and tests done to detect the presence of ketone bodies. It has come many times, so I will just ask question. Ritika, tell me the ketone bodies names, beta. Instead, I'll take one more question. Don't worry, and we have a lot
Acetone,
of
acetoacetate,
beta hydroxybutyrate. Very good. So we have two cycles,
beta
no?
hydroxide,
HMG CoA, hydroxymethyl glutaryl CoA, acetyl CoA plus acetyl CoA, acetoacetyl CoA, HMG CoA. Then again it will split into acetone, acetoacetic acid and beta hydroxybutyric acid. Reverse cycle you will see for the synthesis of breakdown of ketone bodies. So you just go through. Hema, do you want me to discuss once better? I don't remember if you were there for this, but Imad and Ritika were there many times.
Yes, ma'am. Could you please repeat?
Okay. Okay, let me see once. It's very simple, but yeah, in this chapter. You should remember the names of ketone bodies first. What like Ritika just told us: acetone, acetoacetic acid, and beta hydroxybutyric acid. Then you should remember two cycles. One is ketogenesis, and the other is ketolysis. Ketogenesis is production of ketone bodies. Ketolysis is the breakdown of ketone bodies. Generally, ketone bodies are formed. When beta Imad, tell me, when do you
During
see?
In
starvation,
cases
ma'am.
of starvation
Yeah, fasting, starvation, when food is
and
not
diabetes mellitus.
excellent, diabetes mellitus, when we do not have the source of glucose as energy for the cells. Excellent, very good, I'm very happy. Whenever I take Viva of my students, I always feel, array, my GEMS group should have answered much better because I keep asking you, no? Okay. See, synthesis of ketone bodies. This is acetyl CoA, acetyl CoA. It is now converted to acetoacetyl CoA. Then we have beta hydroxy, beta methyl glutaryl CoA, HMG CoA. Then we have acetoacetate, then acetone and beta hydroxybutyrate. So this is the cycle for ketogenesis HEMA. Okay, beta? Then you just the same steps will be in reverse direction. You have to start with beta hydroxybutyrate, then acetoacetate, then acetone. Very simple cycle. So after this, what is the part of question we have? Ketogenesis we have, yeah. Not even ketolysis. What is the test done? But I gave you the name of test in the previous class.
Rothera's
Yeah,
test.
very good. Rothera's test. What do you do in Rothera's test?
Um, Rothera's
Sulfur
test.
particles are sprinkled no, over the urine. So if they sink, it shows the
Okay.
presence of ketone bodies. If they float, it shows like ketone bodies are not there. Okay. So
Okay.
that is the test. Okay. Apart from this, we have. I'll just add a note so that Hema can remember. Basically, ketonemia and ketonuria are the conditions where you will see these ketone bodies are increased in the blood. Okay, so ketonemia. Once they increase in the blood, they also start appearing in the urine, that is ketonuria. So this extreme thing of ketonemia and ketonuria will lead to a condition called as diabetic ketoacidosis. Okay, where the patient, because of high ketone bodies in the blood, the neurons will undergo just like they will not be. Neurons are strictly dependent on glucose. To some extent our body will be able to supply, but after a long time even our body cannot withstand these high levels of ketone bodies. So when these ketone bodies start migrating to the nervous tissue, then the person will go into diabetic coma. Okay, so which is very fatal, very dangerous if it is not treated. Okay, so that is ketogenesis, diabetic ketoacidosis. You will see the appearance of ketone bodies in urine. Even the breath also smells like ketone bodies. Okay, that is acetone smell you will have. This question: cellulose and starch both are homopolysaccharides of glucose, yet humans digest only starch. Can you tell me why? Both. I'll take you to the first chapter.
Because humans don't contain cellulase enzyme.
Cellulase, yeah. No
Yeah,
cellulase.
beta. Yeah. Just a minute. Hello. What may be the reason why cellulose is no? Of course, one is cellulase enzyme, but uh, where does the cellulase enzyme act? What is the difference in the structure of cellulose and starch? Both are homopolysaccharides. Homopolysaccharides in the sense both are purely made up of glucose only, isn't it? What are the linkages you see in starch beta? Alpha 1,4 glycosidic linkage, isn't it? Are you able to hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, beta?
Yes,
Alpha 1,4 glycosidic linkage. I'll show you the linkages of starch. What is the meaning of homopolysaccharides? So if they are made up of same type of monosaccharide, like suppose if all glucose molecules are going up in building up the polysaccharide chain, then you call it as homopolysaccharide. And glucosan, starch is a glucosan, even cellulose is also glucosan. In the sense it's purely made up of glucose. Now if you observe the structure of starch, this is hexose. That means this is glucose, glucose, glucose. So where is the linkage? 1, 4. Okay, and this straight type of linkage is actually called as alpha 1,4 glycosidic linkage. When we have seen the structure of starch and glycogen are also completely similar. Starch will have less number of glucose molecules when you compare with glycogen. Glycogen is animal carbohydrate storage form, and starch is plant form of storage form of carbohydrate. Now let us see the structure of cellulose if it is given. Yes, better see this linkage. Is it straight or is it reverse? It's reversed. So again the linkage is 1,4 only, but this is called as beta 1,4 glycosidic linkages beta. So these beta 1,4 glycosidic linkages are not digested in our body because as you said cellulase enzyme is there which will be breaking this, and we do not have this. And this is also because of our evolution. See, as we have evolved, see our like olden days people used to eat so much of roughage in the diet, isn't it? Directly like plants like they used to eat. Now what now you see most of us are eating all refined foods. The rice what we eat is also polished, isn't it? And all bakery foods which are all junk foods, isn't it? So that means starch, the roughage is missing in the diet. Gradually the enzyme also has disappeared from the human GIT, so that the cellulose, both are homopolysaccharides, but they are not digested. So whatever you said, it is correct. Apart from that, you also add this linkage point, okay, and then you can elaborate. But see, despite of that, we definitely should take fiber in the diet. Always the gastroenterologists usually they recommend, most of the doctors whether they are specialists or general doctors or whatever, they always recommend to take fiber in the diet. Why? Because fiber will add bulk to the food what we eat, isn't it? And it will help in the easy defecation process. Otherwise person will develop constipation, and constipation is only the root causes of all disease, especially colon cancer and all. in a long run, not maybe may not be immediately, but after 40 years of age. And so if we are continuously neglecting our health and we are just concentrating only upon taste and food, then it will definitely harm on a long run. Okay, so that we should balance the thing. If we eat something junk food, we should also take fruits and fiber rich foods also, so that it will be balancing. Okay, beta? Same thing you should suggest to your patients also in future. Okay. I hope you understood this answer. Then porphyrias. What are porphyrias, beta? There is a table and we have discussed many times. Hemoglobin chapter, no? What are porphyrias, Ritika? Acute intermittent porphyria,
Yes, ma'am. I think because of
heme
uh,
synthesis,
accumulation of porphyrin.
porphyrins. Yeah,
Uh,
196 page chapter. Yeah, a specific enzyme will be missing, isn't it? I'll take you to that table. 196. First of all, you should learn the heme synthesis cycle, and then after that, you will come to know what are the enzymes which are required and what are the defective enzymes. Yeah, this is porphyrias. Okay, to understand porphyrias, you have to learn this table cycle. This cycle is regarding heme synthesis, biosynthesis of heme. It itself can come as an essay also. Okay, what is the amino acid which is required for heme synthesis? Imad, yesterday, day before yesterday, we have learned which amino acid?
um, Delta amino levulinic acid synthase.
Amino acid, glycine metabolism.
No,
Did we
for
study?
which one, ma'am?
Heme
For which
synthesis.
one?
Heme,
Glycine.
heme. Hemoglobin. Do you remember glycine is very important for the synthesis of heme? Creatine, heme. Do you remember better? We have studied glycinuria. Ritika, do you remember better? Just 2 days back.
Yes, ma'am.
Please. This Sunday I am taking your biochemistry paper 1 exam better. Okay? If I am not giving you question paper, one of you please remind me. See, succinyl CoA plus glycine. Glycine is the amino acid which is involved. So they are joining to form alpha amino beta keto adipate. So like that you have series of steps and the final product is heme. So what is happening is, suppose if this uroporphyrinogen 1 synthase, this one HEMA, uroporphyrinogen 1 synthase, suppose if this enzyme is deficient, 4 parphobilinogen molecules will not be converted to uroporphyrinogen 3. That means in the blood and also in the urine, the levels of 4 parphobilinogen molecules will increase. Correspondingly, we have other enzymes. Based on that, the precursor levels are increasing in the blood. Okay, and then you will see accordingly we have certain diseases. For example, acute intermittent porphyria, the defective enzyme is uroporphyrinogen 1 synthase. The patient will complain abdominal pain, neuropsychiatric symptoms because of the accumulation of these precursors even in the nervous tissue. Like that, we have porphyria cutanea tarda, where you have uroporphyrinogen decarboxylase as a defective enzyme, and person will have photosensitivity. He will not be able to look at sunlight for a longer times. Like that, you have this table for porphyrias. Just give the cycle. Even the same cycle is given in this form beta, and whatever red blocks are shown, that means that particular enzyme is defective and that particular precursor is increasing in the blood and leading to the clinical symptoms. So better you go with this cycle, okay, uh, which is showing heme synthesis, succinyl CoA, glycine, and final compound is heme only. Along with that, final compound is hemoglobin only. Along with that, here you are shown what are the defective enzymes. Okay, draw this flowchart and give this table and elaborate in your own words. Okay, beta, that is for porphyrias. Then type 1 glycogen storage disease. What is type 1 glycogen storage disease, beta? Just now we have studied carbohydrate metabolism. We should go back.
and gas disease.
Von Gierk's disease. Very good. Any other? McAdams, Hirsch disease. So glycogen metabolism is not taking place properly, no? There you have defective enzymes related to glycogen metabolism. Okay, leading to glycogen storage disorders. What's the page number written? Glycogen carbohydrate metabolism. Yeah, this chapter. Last you will have a table. Now see this is see actually glycogenolysis and glycogenesis both are important. Both together will come as an essay question. Glycogenesis, think that we are doing this essay also now. Glycogenesis in the sense the production of glucose. Just now you have studied like starch is a polymer of glucose, right? Similarly, I told you animal storage form of carbohydrate is glycogen and it has similar structure like starch, but it will have much more complicated like more number of glucose molecules, more number of branching points. Okay. So now just you have to go with the, please memorize this glucose. It's converted to glucose 6-phosphate. In the presence of glucokinase, ATP is utilized here. Glucose 6-phosphate is converted to glucose 1-phosphate. Now you see the glucose molecules are being added up. Okay. Okay, for the addition, you are finding glycogen initiator synthase enzyme. Then at the branching point, you have glucosyl 4,6 transferase enzyme. So it goes on. The branching elongation goes on and branching also goes on and it will lead to the formation of a complicated structure of polymer of glucose that is nothing but glycogen. So after glycogen synthesis, that is nothing but glycogenesis, quite opposite to that. What we have just studied for ketogenesis and ketolysis. Similarly, here also you have glycogenesis and glycogenolysis. That means initially you have to draw the structure of glycogen, then start and we get enzymes which start breaking it. Okay, we have glycogen phosphorylase, glucose 1 phosphate. It's now coming because of the presence of this enzyme. So breaking goes on, and finally you will see individual glucose molecules are released. So this cycle is glycogenolysis. Okay, glycogenesis, glycogenolysis. Now we have glycogen storage disorders where you will see this glucose 6 phosphatase enzyme is missing. And just now Ritika was telling us von Gierk's disease. Let us go with the table. See here, glycogen storage disease. Okay, von Gierk's disease. Okay, so this is type 1 glycogenosis. Okay, what is the enzyme which is defective? Glucose 6 phosphatase. I told you the last step. So if this enzyme is defective, glucose 6 phosphatase, do you think glucose 6 phosphate can be converted to glucose? No. So that means glucose 6 phosphate starts getting accumulated in the liver itself. Okay, and the liver is becoming big in size, leading to a fatty type of change. It may go and get deposited in the kidney. Wherever this compound gets deposited, that particular organ gets little destroyed, not working, not functioning properly. So the organs where this metabolite is accumulated is liver, kidney and intestine. The glycogen accumulates in hepatocytes, renal cells, kidney is enlarged, liver is enlarged, the fasting hypoglycemia because free glucose is unable to enter into the blood circulation. The cycle has stopped at glucose 6 phosphate. Lactic acidemia, lactic acid levels are increasing, hyperlipidemia, free fatty acids like HDL, LDL, VLDL, chylomicrons, everything will increase in blood. That is hyperlipidemia, ketosis, gout. What is gout? Accumulation of uric acid
Accumulation of uric acid enzyme,
crystals. Okay, beta. Which metabolism is deranged?
urine metabolism.
Purine, very good. Purine metabolism. Okay, so glycogen storage diseases. Here we have around 7 diseases given in detail. You can choose any 4. If you can remember all 7, it is also well and good. So whatever you find easy, and what is the defective enzyme, what are the most of the things are same only better. What you should remember is name of the disease and enzyme defect. Rest the characteristic features and organs involved more or less are the same. Try to remember all the 7. Okay, but you may not have that much time. Already your paper is very lengthy, 100 marks, no? That's why. So you should, at the same time, you should be able to like take care of your time properly. Otherwise, if you are restricting your time only to one answer, how much ever you write, you cannot be given more than 13 marks for essay, 3.5 marks for shorts, 1.5 to 2 marks for very shorts. Always keep that in mind while answering. Okay, better? So that is next serum lipoproteins. This also we have discussed like this. What are the serum lipoproteins? Just now I have named them. Imad, name the lipoproteins.
What, ma'am? I can't hear you.
Serum, serum lipoproteins, beta. Can you name serum
Okay, okay.
lipo?
High density lipoproteins, low density lipoproteins, very low density lipoprotein.
Anything else? Ritika, can you add one more thing what Imad has missed?
Um,
Okay. Emma, can you add better? Chylomicrons.
Um, okay, chylomicron.
No?
Element.
So serum lipoproteins is the question. So in the serum, we have lipoproteins in the sense the lipids in combination with proteins. Generally, lipoproteins are the transport form of lipids. When the lipid has to move from one place to another place, usually the fatty acids are converted to lipoproteins, and this is the transport form of lipids we have. So all the names you have told, like we have chylomicrons, very low density lipoprotein, high density lipoprotein, free fatty acids. All these are the different types of the classification of lipoprotein. So for the structure of lipoprotein, I want you to draw this picture better. So this is the structure of lipoprotein, general structure. So you see what is it made up of? The inside core, it has triacyl glycerol, which is neutral core. And suppose this is outside area, membrane, where we have phospholipids, apoprotein, cholesterol. Okay, so this is shell or coat. Okay, so this is the structure of lipoprotein. That means it is made up of a protein like apoprotein, and rest all are made up of different types of lipids. Cholesterol, ester, triacylglycerol, glycerol, phospholipid, everything is there. So a combination of a lipid and protein is lipoprotein complex. So all are lipoproteins only. But which is the good lipoprotein here? Generally, which is
High
considered,
density lipoprotein.
yeah, why high
That's
density?
sulfide, I guess.
Very good. High density. Why beta? It is considered as good fat, good cholesterol, because it has less amount of fat and more amount of protein in its composition. When you look at this structure, the protein component will be more when you compare with the other things. Chylomicrons, VLDL, LDL. HDL is better in its composition. It has more of protein when you compare with this. Then how to know this better? I want you to learn this table. This table is ultimate. It gives every information of what more information than what is written here in fact. Okay, it makes the concept also clear. See, for example, see, these are chylomicrons, VLDL, LDL, and HDL. See, I was telling you protein component. How much is chylomicron? It is 2. For VLDL, how much it is? Beta 10. LDL it is 20 and HDL it is 40. That means 40% of the composition of HDL is made up of protein. 60% is made up of lipid, isn't it? So that when you consider chylomicron, it has only 2% of protein, isn't it? So which is better here? HDL is better, isn't it?
HDL.
Yeah, very good. When you talk about this lipid component also, what are the, just now you have seen structure of lipoprotein, no? We had triacylglycerol, cholesterol free and ester, phospholipids and free fatty acids. How much each is there is given here. Okay, beta? So this table is very important to know the composition. So apart from that, actually we have discussed electrophoresis also in one of our answers. Imad and Ritika were present. I don't remember Hima. Okay, electrophoretic mobility. I told you like we generally use electrodes, no? Cathode and anode, and different colors are deposited on the filter paper. See, this is anode, this is cathode, electricity is passed, and you will see the deposition of these lipoproteins on the filter paper. And deposition also shows different colors. So that is the electrophoresis. To separate different lipoproteins, we undertake this technique. Okay, so like electrophoretic mobility is described here, density is described, diameter. Just learn this table better. You will get full marks. Okay, classify them, learn this table, give the structure, and put your answer in your own words. Okay, so that is high energy compounds. Also, recently I told. Can anybody tell me what is the meaning of high energy compounds? I will give a clue. Biological oxidation chapter. Ritika, do you
Ma'am,
remember?
they release a greater amount of energy or ATP.
More than how much, beta?
That value I don't remember.
I don't remember. Ritika, do you remember, beta?
No, ma'am.
Okay, no problem. 7 beta, 80, like I told you, 221, I guess. We have to consider ATP, see, energy compounds for this one. See here, beta. See, high energy compounds, in the sense, first of all, we have to consider ATP as a benchmark. Okay, that means we are keeping it as a constant value. Above this, that means one ATP molecule will generally give 7.3 calories per mole of energy. So whatever molecules which are giving energy more than ATP, that is more than 7.3, they are all coming under high energy phosphates or high energy compounds. Okay. Whatever molecules which give energy less than 7.3, that is below ATP, they are generally considered as low energy compounds. Okay, beta? Yes, Imad?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I think less than 1 minute
What
is there.
was the